Morning. I'm back with your video for week 9. I posted week 8 earlier. This week we're talking about the rights of people to live in a healthy environment, and also the rights of the environment or the planet itself, sort of in all its species, to actually be healthy and to be protected. And you have some videos to watch, and you have a couple of websites that you can visit, one of them being Blue Dot, which is endorsed by David Suzuki and is in sort of progress in a number of countries around the world. There's a little discussion about pressuring your, sort of local community governments and those kinds of things to act on, these ideas that the Earth actually deserves to be safe, and in fact we're dependent on it, so it's critical that this happens. What I want us to think about, you've got the lecture there and you've got some videos to watch, so some of that stuff is very hammered out, but what I really wanted us to think about today, and to sort of think about as we move through this, is what does that mean for you? So you did again, I'm going to refer back to the ecological footprint, and saw sort of how your decisions and how you choose to live has an impact, what that looks like in terms of the planet and resources and all of those things. So if we were to have legislation, global legislation, that not only meant that we were entitled to a healthy environment, but also that the environment itself has rights to be healthy and that those rights would be protected, what would that mean for your life? And what would you need to change? What would you need to give up? I think it's very easy to talk, in big sort of broad generalities about why this stuff is important, and I'm not suggesting that it's not, obviously. It is important for us to protect the environment. We live in a relationship with the planet. We cannot exist without the planet. The planet can do just fine without people and the polluting that we are up to. So I think this stuff is necessary. I think we are at a critical point in history with pipelines and global warming and climate change and all of these things that show us that we're at we've reached sort of critical mass here. We need to be making some different decisions in terms of our environment, so that we can hopefully sort of staunch the hemorrhage a little bit, stop it, and see if we can't backtrack, see if we can't take some measures to sort of undo quickly some of the damage that we've done. But when we talk about these things, one of the things that comes up, particularly, let's say, in terms of pipelines, is the impact that it's going to have on people, right? Oil dependency and what it does for families who are employed in the oil patch, entire communities that have been thriving because of the oil boom. Some of these things have a really profound impact, and so we can see it in our larger communities, and I think we can see it in terms of big business and the oil companies. That stuff's easy to talk about, but what would it mean for your life to live in a way that guarantees that the earth is protected? What does that mean for how you shop, where you get your groceries, what kind of groceries you're able to get, clothing, your budget, right? Because lots of the choices at this juncture that are more environmentally responsible often cost a little bit more, and so that means kind of redoing your entire worldview to accommodate for that, so that you're willing to pay maybe a little bit more for clothes that have been produced in an eco-conscious kind of way, an eco-friendly kind of way, but that maybe means then that your wardrobe is quite a lot smaller. Might have an impact on the kind of shoes that you buy, the kind of workout gear that you buy if you're someone who works out, and in your life as a student. And for many of us who have families, those are very real considerations. Buying organic food is a very real consideration that people make when they are looking at their budgets, whether they can or cannot afford to be making those kinds of choices, to be buying locally produced food as often as possible. A lot of these things, and giving up things that are convenient, things that we've sort of come in this busy world of ours to rely upon, that make our lives a lot easier and quicker and allow us to do more and be more productive in a shorter amount of time. This is it's all tied to a giant sort of world view, and in order for us to be really making global change, right, large-scale change across countries and across the planet, right, continents, and then the entire planet, where we are choosing sustainable ways to operate, and where there are laws that are in place that prevent us from, over-harvesting or exploiting particular resources or whatever it might be. It is going to mean personal changes, and not necessarily the kind that it's just I've decided I'll be vegetarian on Mondays, but maybe some of these changes would actually be legislated because of the harm that they're doing, the kinds of factories that produce the clothes that are more widely available because of how they're cheaper. Lots of different things, right? That's just a kind of an easy off the top of my head example, but it figures into your everyday life when you think about what you can afford, what your sort of clothing allowance might be, and if those clothes are not of great quality, or they're super cheap and then they only last a certain season and then they go into the landfill, what have you, right? There's a ripple effect for all of these kinds of choices, and I'm not trying to be critical of anyone. These are things that we struggle with in our home all the time, right? Where we can make these accommodations and where we can choose more responsibly and where we can't, and like what kind of a moral struggle that is, for me in my home. What do I clean with? All of those things, right? And if there was legislation, it wouldn't be so much of a personal choice. Lots of this stuff would just be the way that it is. There would be, a change in the way that we do things and the way that we have to do things. And so think about your own life and what your ecological footprint looked like and what it would look like if some of the stuff was legislated. And sort of examine where your bias is and where your resistance to change is, because I think, well, when we talk about this, sort of publicly, socially, it's very easy to put it off on big companies. So it's all about the bottom line, it's all about the dollar, but it is for us too in lots of ways, because we all live on budgets and we have busy lives that require, as much convenience as possible at this point, right, with this particular worldview, particularly in like the Euro West or Global North or, North America, where it is about be quick, produce more, get in, get out, be fast, like produce. Convenience type things have allowed us to do that, but there's been a cost. And so what is the cost for you to changing some of those things and making some different decisions? I'll be interested, to sort of see if this sparks any kind of discussion once you really have a chance to kind of take stock of your life and see where you encounter your own bias and your own resistance to actually giving up some things. And it's not really, the way we conceive of it would be giving up, but it isn't really, because what we're trading, cheap clothing for is like life for other people, but, extended life also for ourselves and for the planet and all the species that live on it, in a very simplified kind of sense. So I think, examining what our priorities are and what we think we would be giving up and what we would be gaining, right? Look at what those kinds of things, how they end up looking on a paper. I think that you will find some interesting things out about yourself and also just about the world that you are living in, that we're all, the social world that we're all living in, that tells us that these things are more valuable than these things, and that is because they allow us to produce more, to be better, sort of cogs in the machine overall, right? In the capitalist machine, so to speak, and without getting too far off track. So have a look and see where your own personal bias is. This is where this class, I think, gets very interesting, because we have to look at our own habits, we have to look at our own practices and the things that we have put value on, and see where are we willing to do some moving and some changing. And truly, if there was legislation, these would be hardcore decisions that we would be facing. And so I think it's good to think about, because hopefully, despite the fact that it might be difficult, hopefully we'll be moving in that direction where we do guarantee the rights of nature and where this is something that we are taking really seriously. So I hope that you have a good week. Your book critiques were due. I know, as per usual, every now and again there's a bit of a glitch with submitting. If that happens, just let me know. It's no big deal. We'll get it sorted out. You are going to have another discussion forum coming up here this week. I think it opens. It's week 10 we're going into. And so gear up for that, and then it's just not that long until you will get your knowledge project, sort of final project, and then it's due just at the beginning of April there. So have a really good week. I hope that you enjoy the equinox. Spring is coming, fingers crossed, and I will see you next week. Okay, take care.